Okay, we'll be solving this model of problem in the plate girder. What exactly we are going to solve is we are going to design the plate girder without using intermediate transverse stiffeners. So you're not going to use the intermediate stiffeners. So any plate girder will have two types of stiffeners. One is the horizontal stiffeners and the other one is the vertical stiffeners. So vertical stiffeners are also called as transverse stiffeners, and the horizontal stiffeners are also called as longitudinal stiffeners. Again, in vertical stiffeners, you have the intermediate stiffeners and you also have the end bearing stiffeners or end stiffeners or bearing stiffeners. So in our case, we'll be talking about how to design a plate girder without using intermediate transverse stiffeners. That means you have to use the end bearing stiffeners. Okay, they have just talked about you should not use the intermediate transverse stiffeners, but you must have to use. This is not specified in the question. So even though it is not specified in the question, you must have to use the end bearing stiffeners or end stiffeners. Anyways, let's look at the problem. So you have to design a welded plate girder of 24 meters in span, okay, and laterally restrained throughout. So the entire plate girder is laterally restrained throughout the section, and it has to support a uniform load of 100 kilonewtons per meter, so which is an UDL load. Okay, uniform load they have said. So that means it's an uniformly distributed load. So 100 kilonewtons per meter throughout the span, exclusive of self weight. So self weight is not included in this 100 kilonewtons per meter of load. So you have to design the plate girder without using intermediate transverse stiffness, and the steel for the flange and web plates is of grade Fe410. That's the thing. So here in the problem, what you have to focus is what condition that is being given, that you have to give the first preference. So you are not going to use the intermediate transverse stiffness. This is the first condition. And they have also said that the load which is given is exclusive of self weight. That means in this 100 kilonewtons of load, there is no self weight that is included. That means you have to calculate the self weight of the plate girder also. We have a specific formula to calculate that, but before that, you also have to calculate the self weight of the plate girder. So remember, in this problem, it almost goes with 13 to 15 different steps are available. So it's a very lengthy problem. So you have to focus on each and every step. So each and every step will have a connection to the previous steps. So please make a clear focus on what you're going to hear from now on. Okay, you almost go with 15 steps in this models of problems. Anyways, so let's solve for the solution part and let's write the given data. So given span, that is L equals to, that is span of the girder or length of the girder equals to 24 meters, and the load or the uniformly distributed load is given as 100 kilonewtons per meter. This is the uniformly distributed load. And then you are not going to use the intermediate transverse stiffeners, and then the steel is of grade Fe410. Anyways, those are all secondary elements. So the first step which you are going to solve is you need to find out what are the various forces that are coming onto the member. So let's keep the first step as design of forces or design forces. So keep this as a first step, design forces. That means you need to identify what are the different types of forces that are coming onto the member, and you also have to find out the maximum bending moment and the maximum shear forces. Okay, so before finding out the design forces, let's draw the diagram of the plate girder which they have given. So it's a simply supported beam, okay, or a simply supported girder, so which is having a span of 24 meters, and it has an uniformly distributed load of 100 kilonewtons per meter. Okay, remember it is not including self weight, it is exclusive of self weight. So let's find out the design forces. So in design forces, the first thing is the load which they have given, right? That is 100 kilonewtons per meter. So let's write that load. So total superimposed load. Total superimposed load equals to 100 kilonewtons per meter. This is the total load that is coming onto the member. So this they have given. So therefore, factored superimposed load, factored superimposed load equals to 1.5 times of total superimposed load, that is 100 kilonewtons per meter. So which will be 150 kilonewtons per meter. So this is the total factored superimposed load. So now here, since they have said this load is exclusive of self weight, you have to calculate the self weight of the plate girder. So self weight of plate girder. So you have a fixed formula to find out the self weight of plate girder, that equals to capital W into length divided by 400. Capital W into L by 400, that is WL by 400. So here the value of W changes based on the type of loading. Suppose if the load, suppose you have a beam like this, and if the load is just a point load, so then this value will become the capital W. If the load which is given is an uniformly distributed load, okay, so say for example, small w kilonewtons per meter is the uniformly distributed load. So then how will you find out the capital W is small w, that is the intensity of the uniformly distributed load, into length. So this will become the capital W value. Don't directly take the capital W value as 100. It is not right. That is not the proper way of selecting the capital W value. Okay, so capital W is taken as weight intensity of the uniformly distributed load into the length up to which the uniformly distributed load is acting. So here in this problem, throughout the total 24 meters of span, the total load is acting. So therefore, I'm going to take the capital W value as 100 into 24. So this is the total capital W value into length. What is the length of the girder? It is 24 meters upon 400. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the self weight of the plate girder. So what is the self weight of the plate girder? If you solve for this one, you will be getting approximately 144 kilonewtons. Okay, this is acting at a load of 144 kilonewtons. Now this self weight of plate girder has to be calculated per meter length. Okay, so in the next following step, self weight of plate girder, self weight of plate girder per meter length. Okay, you need to find out what is the load that is falling per meter length. So how will you find out? You know the total load, that is 144. How many meters of length is there? We have 24 meters of span. So therefore, upon 24. So this will be 6 kilonewtons per meter. So the self weight of the girder per meter length is 6 kilonewtons. So per meter length, you have the load of 6 kilonewtons that is acting on the plate girder. So now let's find out the factored self weight. Factored self weight. Okay, factored self weight equals to 1.5 times of self weight of plate girder per meter length. So which will be 9 kilonewtons per meter. This is the factored self weight. So therefore, total load equals to factored superimposed load, that is 150 kilonewtons, plus factored self weight, which is 9 kilonewtons per meter. So 150 plus 9, that equals to 159 kilonewtons per meter. So this is the total amount of load that is coming onto the member, including self weight and also the uniformly distributed load. So wherever W is coming, you should take the value of W as 159. Don't take it as 100, or don't take it as just 150, or don't take it as 6. So it must be the 159 kilonewtons per meter of load, right? So now let's find out the maximum bending moment. So maximum bending moment. You please write down in the full sentence. Don't keep it as just BM. Okay. Anyways, so maximum bending moment equals to, you know the formula. For a simply supported beam carrying uniformly distributed load, the maximum bending moment formula is WL square by 8. Okay. What is the W value? It is the total load, that is 159. And L is the span of the plate girder, which is 24 meters. So WL square by 8. So if you solve for this one, it will be 11,488 kilonewtons meter. This is the maximum bending moment. Next, we need to find out the maximum shear force as well. So for a simply supported beam carrying uniformly distributed load, the maximum shear force is given by WL upon 2, where again W is 159 and L is 24 upon 2. So which will be 1908 kilonewtons. So this is the first step. So you are going to find out what are the various forces that are going to come on the member and the maximum shear force and bending moment values. And the second step which you are going to solve is design of web. So you have to design the I section now, right? You don't know which I section you're going to design. Remember, we were talking in the introduction class that all the plate girders will be in the shape of I. So whatever the section you're designing as a plate girder, it must be an I section only. So now the second step is you need to design the web portion of the section, and then we'll go for the design of flanges. Now, how will you find out the depth and the thickness of the web? So we have discussed in the introduction class what exactly it is if you want to find out optimum depth of the plate girder. Okay, let's write this one. Optimum depth of plate girder. So optimum depth of plate girder equals to, that means it is a depth of web only. Optimum depth of plate girder or depth of web, they both indicate the same values. So D equals to, we have talked about one formula which is M into K, okay, M into K divided by Fy whole power 1 by 3. This is the fixed formula to find out optimum depth of the plate girder or depth of web. So it is mk by Fy whole power 1 by 3. Now the thing is, here you need to focus on considering the value of K. Okay. So here the value of K has to be considered in two cases. I'll show you the another screen so that we will talk about this. Yeah, see. So here the minimum web thickness, okay, the minimum web thickness based on serviceability criteria. This is the first case. And you also have the second case, which is the minimum web thickness based on compression flange buckling criteria. Okay, so in both the cases, you have to consider the conditions. Let's look at the first conditions, that is in serviceability conditions. In serviceability conditions, again, you have four types. So when transverse stiffeners are not provided, when only transverse stiffeners are provided, and when transverse and longitudinal stiffeners are provided, when second longitudinal stiffeners are provided. So if you consider all these four cases, which case that you're getting satisfied is, in our problem, you are not providing the transverse stiffeners. That means you are not going to provide the vertical stiffeners. That means they have said in the question that you should not use intermediate transverse stiffeners. So if you are not using intermediate transverse stiffeners, then you have to select the first condition. Okay. Now in first condition, again, you have two cases. That is d by tw less than or equals to 200 and d by tw less than or equals to 90 epsilon, where E equals to under root 250 by Fi, which is always 1. So here you have two cases, the A case and the B case. Which one you have to consider? Since nothing is specified in the question regarding web connection part, okay, since nothing is specified in the question, you always have to choose the first part, which is the d by tw value must be less than or equals to 200. Okay, so remember, so the minimum web thickness based on serviceability criteria when transverse stiffeners are not provided is the value of d by tw must be less than or equals to 200. Now let's look at the minimum web thickness based on the compression flange buckling criteria. So here also you have cases. So the first case is when transverse stiffeners are not provided, when transverse stiffeners are provided, and then, these are the only two cases which you have. So here, which criteria it is getting satisfied? When transverse stiffeners are not provided. So this is our case. Okay. So here the value of d by tw must be less than or equals to 345. Okay. So now you have got two conditions. The first condition is from serviceability criteria, the value of d by tw should be less than or equals to 200. And from the flange buckling criteria, the value of d by tw must be less than or equals to 345. Let's write these statements here. Yeah. So when intermediate transverse stiffness, when intermediate transverse stiffness are not provided, when intermediate transverse stiffness are not provided, okay, the value of d by tw must be less than or equals to 200 epsilon, okay, which is indirectly 200 because the epsilon value is 1. And this is for serviceability criteria. So from serviceability criteria, okay, and you also have the one more criteria, that is d by tw must be less than or equals to 345 epsilon, and this is for the flange buckling criteria. So this is for the flange buckling criteria from flange buckling criteria or the compression flange buckling criteria, anything is same. Now the thing is, you should know what should be the value of K. So usually when intermediate transverse stiffeners are not provided, remember, usually when intermediate transverse stiffeners are not provided, the value of K, okay, the value of K, that is d by tw value, is considered as 180. So let us assume K equals to d by tw, that equals to 180. So remember this condition. So when you are not providing intermediate transverse stiffness, the value of K, which is d by tw, is considered as 180. Remember this condition. This is applicable for all models of problems when you are designing a plate girder without using intermediate transverse stiffness. So please have a focus here. Okay. So now let's find out the optimum depth of web. D equals to mk by fy. What is the value of m? It is 11488. Okay. So the maximum bending moment value 11488 into 10 power 6. That is m value, and k value is 180. Okay. Upon fy value is 250 whole power 1 by 3. Okay. If you solve for this one, you will be getting the optimum depth as 1871.9 mm. So you can consider this value of 1900, or you can also come down the value to 1800. So I am just considering, from serviceability criteria, I'm just decreasing the value to 1800 mm. You can also solve it by considering 1900 also. Make it to the nearest 50-digit value or 100-digit value. It's up to you. Okay, so you can consider 1900 as the optimum depth, or you can also consider 1800 as the optimum depth, but don't go beyond that and don't go less than 1800. Okay, this is up to you. This assumption is purely up to you. So now you have got the depth of web, which is 1800 mm. Now let's find out the thickness of the web. Okay, so optimum web thickness, that is TW, equals to, again you have a formula for this, which is m upon fy into k square whole power 1 by 3. Okay, m by fk fy into k square whole power 1 by 3. So this is how you need to find out the optimum thickness of the web. So which will be 11488 into 10 power 6, which is the value of maximum bending moment, and the fy value is 250. Okay, and the value of k we have assumed as 180. So therefore 180 square whole power 1 by 3. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the value as 10.95 mm. So approximately you can take it as 12 mm. Okay, don't take it as odd number values, always go for the consideration of even number values. Okay, 12 mm. So now what you have got is you have got the depth of the web and you also have got the thickness of the web. Okay, so the reason why I am going to 12 mm instead of 11 mm is, one reason is you should always go for the selection of even numbers, and the other primary reason is, since you are not providing intermediate transverse stiffeners, okay, since you are not providing the intermediate transverse stiffeners, what you can do is you can decrease the depth of the web, which I have done, and you can increase the thickness of the web. Okay, remember this condition. Since you are not providing the intermediate transverse stiffeners, what you can do is you can decrease the depth of the web and you can increase the thickness of the web. Why I am decreasing the depth of the web? Suppose if the depth of the web is more, then always the girder will tend to buckle. So if you provide a higher thickness of the web, obviously the web will portion will have huge amount of resisting forces, and this web will take care, or this thickness will take care of not buckling the member. So that's the reason why I have decreased the depth of the web and why I have increased the thickness of the web. Yeah, that is for intermediate transverse stiffeners are not being provided. Okay, so let us find out the flange design also. So design of flange, next step. So before that, let's write out the web dimension. So web plate dimensions. So what is a web plate dimensions? 1800 is the depth of the web and 12 is the thickness of the web. So this is what the total portion is, the web plate. So the next step, which is the third step, is design of flanges. Design of flanges. So how will you design flanges? So here the design of flanges has to be done based on the bending moment. Okay, so based on bending moment. So let's solve how to find out the value of the width of the flange and thickness of the flange. Okay, so before finding out the width and thickness of the flange, let's find out the area of the flange. So let's write it as required area of flange, that is a suffix f, that is area of flange, equals to, this can be calculated by using a formula which is m into gamma m naught divided by fy into d. This is the fixed formula to find out area of the flange. So whereas m is the maximum bending moment, which is 11448 into 10 power 6, and gamma m naught is partial safety factor of material, which is 1.1, and fy value is 250, and the depth is 1800. So don't take it this depth value, that is 1871.9. That is not the depth which we are providing. We have provided the depth of the web as 1800. So if you solve for this one, the area of the flange is obtained as 27984 mm square. So this is the area of the flange. Now you know area of the flange equals to width of the flange, that is bf, into the thickness of the flange, which is tf. Now you know the area, but you don't know the two conditions, that is the width and thickness of the flanges, you don't know. So how will you find out? So here you have one known factor and two unknowns factor, right? So how will you solve for the width or thickness of the flanges? What you have to do is you need to assume one condition here. Assume width of flange, that is bf, equals to 0.3 times of depth of girder. Okay, width of the flange equals to 0.3 times the depth of girder. So how will you find out? Therefore, BF, that is width of the flange, equals to 0.3 times of depth of girder or depth of web, which is same, which is 1800. So it will be 540 mm. So you can round off this value to 550 or 560. So since I am doing it for serviceability criteria, I am rounding off to little greater value than what we have obtained. So BF equals to 560 mm. So you can take 550 mm also. I'll let you see what happens if you try to select the very nearest possible values in the upcoming steps. Okay, but try to go with the little greater values, whatever wherever I'm taking. So now you have got the width of the flange. Now by using this particular formula, you can find out the thickness of the flange. So therefore, AF equals to BF into TF, which implies the area you have obtained as 27984 equals to the BF value is 560, and you need to find out the value of TF. Now it will become easy. So therefore, the value of TF, that is the thickness of the flange, is obtained as 49.97 m, which you can take approximately 50 mm. Okay. So therefore, you have found out the width of the flange, thickness of the flange by using the moment value, that is capital M, and by using the area value. Okay. So therefore, flange plate dimensions, flange plate dimensions. So equals to the width of the flange is 560 and the thickness of the flange is 50. So this is the flange plate dimensions. So now by using these two parameters, you need to draw the I section. Let us draw the I section. So you have the I section dimensions. So based on these dimensions, you're going to draw the plate girder or the typical dimensions of the plate girder. That is the dimensions of the web and the dimensions of the flange. So what is the dimension of the width of the flange? It is 560 mm. Okay, and the thickness of the flange is 50 mm. Okay, this is 50 mm, and the depth of a web, that is this one, depth of web equals to 1800 mm. Okay, and the thickness of the web, that is this one, is 12 mm, and again the bottom flange width thickness is also 15 mm. Okay, therefore the total depth is, what is the total depth? It is 50 plus 1800 plus 50, which will be 1900 mm. So this is the total depth of the I section which you have selected. Fine. I hope it is clear for all of you regarding design of flanges, design of web, and design of forces. Now let's go for the next step, which is classification of flanges. Now you need to know whether the flanges are belonging to which class. Is it a class 1, class 2, class 3, or class 4? You know the plastic, compact, semi-compact, and slender. But always remember, you have 4 classes that you know: the plastic section, compact section, semi-compact section, and the last one is slender sections. Always remember, whatever the section that you're designing for plate girder, it must be a plastic category only. Okay, always remember, whenever you are designing this plate girder, it must belong to plastic category. It should not belong to any of these 3 cases. Anyways, let's write that one. So the third step or fourth step, yeah, it is fourth step. So classification of flanges. Classification of flanges. So how will you classify? You know, for the section to be plastic, okay, for the section to be plastic, you need to find out the value of B by TF. So for the section to be a plastic section, Okay, B by TF should be less than or equals to 8.4 epsilon. This is the fixed condition. So for plastic section, the value of B by TF should be less than or equals to 8.4 E. This thing, I mean, the table which talks about the plastic, compact, semi-compact, and slender sections, we have talked in the compression member. So by using the same table which is there in IS 800/2007, you are going to classify the section. Now here, the value of B, okay, the value of B has to be found out. What is actually the value? The terminology or the formula for B is the outstand of flange, that is B, equals to, how will you find out is, early in the earlier problems the value of B is directly taken as BF by 2. Okay, but in plate girder the value of B is not BF by 2. You should not go for this. The value of B is taken as BF minus TW divided by 2. This is the formula in plate girders. Okay, don't take the value of B as BF by 2. So therefore, width of the flange, which is 560, minus thickness of the web, which is 12 upon 2, which will be 274 mm. This is the value of B. Now let's find out the value of B by TF. So B by TF equals to 274 upon the thickness of the flange is 50. That equals to 5.48, which is less than or equals to 8.4 epsilon. So therefore, the section belongs to plastic category. Remember, all the sections in the plate girder must belong to plastic category only. The section belongs to plastic category. Okay, so here the value of epsilon is taken as under root 250 by Fy, where Fy value is 250 again, therefore under root 1 equals to 1. So I'm just making the epsilon value directly as 1. And here, if the section is plastic category, the value of beta B is taken as 1. Okay, remember, if the section is of plastic category, the value of beta B is taken as 1. The same thing which we have adopted in the design of beams also. Anyways, so let's go to the next step, that is fifth one, which is check for bending strength. Check for bending strength. Check for bending strength. Now, how will you check for the bending strength? So in order to find out the bending strength value, you need to find out the moment capacity. Check for bending strength can be found out by using moment capacity, which is M suffix D. Moment capacity MD equals to beta B into ZPZ into Fy by gamma M naught. This is the formula. Now here the value of beta B is taken as 1 because since the section belongs to plastic category, this you know, since the section is plastic, this is fixed. Now here the question is, how will you find out the value of ZPZ? So here, if you check down, you know the dimensions of the I section, but you might not find the same dimensions in the steel tables book for an I section. Okay, so since it is impossible to find the value of ZPZ for this particular values, that is 560, 1800, 12, and 50, you don't find the values in steel tables book. So that means you have to solve manually to find out the value of ZPZ, that is plastic section modulus. So how will you solve? ZPZ, that is plastic section modulus, equals to, you have a fixed formula for this, which is 2 times of BF into TF. Okay, that is 2 times of area of flange, you can say, into overall depth, that is capital D, minus thickness of the flange divided by 2. This is the fixed formula to find out the plastic section modulus for plate girder problems. Okay, so therefore 2 times of bf, that is width of the flange, is 560 and the thickness of the flange is 50 into overall depth is 1900. Okay, we have seen here the overall depth is 1900 and the thickness of the flange is again 50. Okay, thickness of the flange is 50 upon 2. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the ZPZ value as 51.8. 51.8 into 10 power 6 mm cube. So you have got the ZPZ value. Now from you, by using this value, you can find out the value of MD, that is the moment capacity. So you know the moment capacity formula, that is beta B, which is 1, and ZPZ value is 51.8 into 10 power 6 into Fy value is 250 and gamma m0 value is 1.1. Okay, so now by using this one, you can find out the value of moment capacity, which will be 11772.7 kilonewtons meter. And how will you check whether this moment capacity is within the limits or not? So how will you check is, whatever the value of MD that you have calculated, it must be greater than the value of maximum bending moment. Okay, let's look at what is the maximum bending moment. So the maximum bending moment we have calculated by using WL square by 8, which is 11448. It is 11448. So let's see whether it is greater or lesser. So it is greater than the value of 11772, 11448 kilonewtons meter. So therefore it is considered as safe. Okay, so the given the selected plate girder is safe in bending. Now let's find out the shear capacity of the web, which is the sixth step. Shear capacity of web. Shear capacity of web. You know, the webs will take care of the shear capacity or the shear forces, and the flanges will take care of the buckling forces, right? So that's how I written the shear capacity of web. So the web is always accompanied with the shear forces. It will take care of the shear forces, and the flange will always take care of the bending forces. Now here, in order to find out the shear capacity of the web, in the introduction class, we were talking about a couple of models of solving this procedure, which is you have two methods to find out the shear capacity of the web, right? So one is a simple post critical method and the second one is tension field coefficient method. I'll show you that. Just a minute. Yeah. So here you have. So in order to find out the shear buckling design, you have two methods. One is simple post critical method and the second one is tension field coefficient method. So if it is a simple post critical method, you have to use this one. If it is a tension field coefficient method, you have to use this category. Now in our question, they haven't said anything about which method you have to use. So whether it is a simple post or the tension field method. So nothing is specified. When nothing is specified, go for the selection of a simple post critical method. When they specifically talk about use only this method in the shear capacity of it, then you can go for that particular process. But since nothing is specified in our problem, we are going to design the shear capacity of the web by using simple post critical method. So use simple post critical method. So we'll be using this method. Okay. So now let's solve for how will you solve for by using the shear capacity of web using simple post critical method. Now here again the conditions are, if you check down those formulae, I mean those who have written in the last class, you must know these formulas. So ultimately we'll be finding out this one, that is tau CRE, that is kV pi square E upon 12 into 1 minus nu square into d by tw whole square. Okay, so this particular thing is available in your code book. Okay, if you go for clause 8.4.2, you will find out these methods. Anyways, so you can refer the code book later. So let us use simple post-critical method. So by using simple post-critical method, you're going to find out the elastic critical shear stress. Elastic critical shear stress. So how will you find out? Shear stress is denoted with tau, and CR is critical, and E, which is elastic. So you have the formula, that is kV pi square E upon 12 into 1 minus nu square into d by tw whole square. This is a fixed formula, kV pi square E by 12 into 1 minus nu square into d by tw whole square. Okay, now here, when you are not using intermediate transverse stiffeners, remember kV equals to 5.35. So this is used when intermediate transverse stiffeners are not provided. Since intermediate transverse stiffeners are not provided, this is the condition. So when intermediate transverse stiffeners are not provided, the value of kV is taken as 5.35. I'll talk about what will be the value of kV when you are providing intermediate transverse stiffeners. In the next model, I'll talk about. For time being, you remember the value of kV is taken as 5.35 when you are not using intermediate transverse stiffeners. So therefore, tau CRE, that is elastic critical shear stress, equals to, substitute the values in the above formula, that is kV is 5.35 into pi square. Let's keep the same value, that is pi square, and the Young's modulus of steel is 2 into 10 power 5 upon 12 into 1 minus nu, that is Poisson's ratio is taken as 0.3, that is 1 minus nu square, into d by tw, where d by tw is, the value is, the depth of the web is 1800 and the thickness of the web is 12. Okay, so if you solve for this one, you will be getting the elastic critical shear stress as 42.98 newtons per mm square. This is the total elastic critical shear stress. Now here you also have to find out the value of lambda w. If you remember, I'll show you that. Yeah, so here you can see you have three conditions of lambda w. So when lambda w equals to less than or equals to 0.8, when lambda w is in between 0.8 and 1.2, and when lambda w is greater than or equals to 1.2. Now you don't know which condition you have to select because you don't know the value of lambda w. So when you don't know the value of lambda w, what you can do is you can directly take the last case, which is the worst case. That is the third case. You're going to assume that the lambda w value will be greater than or equals to 1.2, and then you have to find out the value of tau b. Okay, remember this condition. Since you don't know the value of lambda w, exact value of lambda w, what you're going to consider is you're going to consider the worst critical case, that is the third critical case, and then you find out the value of lambda w. By using the value of lambda w, you find out the value of tau b, which is a shear stress corresponding to web buckling. So let's solve for this one. So the non-dimensional slenderness ratio, you can write this statement: the non-dimensional slenderness ratio for shear buckling stress, for shear buckling stress, lambda w greater than or equals to 1.2. So when lambda w is greater than or equals to 1.2, the value of lambda w is solved as fy upon root 3 into tau CRE, which is elastic critical shear stress. So the value of Fy is taken as 250 upon root 3 into the elastic critical shear stress is 42.98. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the value of lambda W as 1.83. So we have assumed the value of lambda W to be greater than 1.2. So it is obviously 1.83 is greater than 1.2. So our condition is sufficient. I mean, whatever we have assumed for lambda W greater than 1.2, it is satisfying the condition. So you don't need to worry about that. So when lambda W is greater than 1.2, the value of tau B, that is shear stress corresponding to buckling, that is tau B. B represents buckling and tau represents shear stress, that equals to Fy upon root 3 into lambda W square. Yeah, this formula is there. I mean, we know from simple post critical method. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the value of tau B, that is Fy value is 250, root 3 into lambda W value is 1.83 square, which will be approximately 44.5 newtons per mm square. You might get 45 or 46, but somewhere you can calculate that, but it will be somewhere around 44 to 45. So this is the shear stress corresponding to buckling. Now, ultimately, what you're going to find out is shear force corresponding to buckling. Okay, the shear force corresponding to buckling. Shear force corresponding to buckling. How will you find out this one? So you have a formula that is VCR equals to D into TW into tau B. Okay, D into TW into tau B. So the value of D is 1800 and the thickness of the web is 12 mm and tau B value is 44.5. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the answer as 962.2 kilonewtons. Now, how will you identify whether the shear force which is obtained here is in safe limits or not? So it must be satisfying the requirements of the shear force, which we have calculated in the first step, that is the maximum shear force. So let's look at what is the maximum shear force. So the maximum shear force is 1908 kilonewtons. Okay, this is the maximum shear force. Let's see whether the value of VCR is less than 1908 kilonewtons or greater than 19083. So it is obviously less than 1908 kilonewtons, okay, which is V, that is the maximum shear force, WL by 2. Now here the condition is, you have to remember few conditions here. When the value of VCR is less than V, okay, when the value of VC, I'll write it very clearly here. When the value of VCR is less than V in intermediate transverse stiffness conditions, that means when you are not providing intermediate transverse stiffness, when I don't write the entire statements, I'll just write intermediate transverse stiffness. When intermediate transverse stiffness are not provided. Okay, so when intermediate transverse stiffness are not provided in the question, when VCR is less than V, it is considered as unsafe section. Okay, that means what it says is, you can make it as note and then write this statement. So when VCR is less than V, that is when intermediate transverse stiffness are not provided, it is considered as unsafe section. Suppose, say for example, if VCR is greater than V, okay, VCR is greater than V, but the condition is when you are providing intermediate transverse stiffness. Okay, sorry, not greater than, it is also less than. When VCR is less than V, but you are providing when intermediate transverse stiffness are provided, then it is considered as the safest section. Remember, see, for both the cases, simple things are getting same. So in the first model of problem, you are not providing the intermediate transverse stiffeners. So when intermediate transverse stiffeners are not being provided, if you found the value of VCR is less than V, then it is considered as an unsafe section. And if you are providing the intermediate transverse stiffeners, if VCR is less than V in this case, then you can take this as a safest section. Okay, we'll talk about the second case in the next model of problem, but in this model of problem you are not providing the intermediate transverse stiffness, and you have found that the value of VCR is less than V, therefore the unsafe section. Now how will you solve if a section is unsafe? How will you determine the next step? So you have to make the section as an unsafe section. So let's write this one. Since VCR is less than V, the section is unsafe. How will you make the safest section? So you can make this section as the safest section by increasing the thickness of the web. Remember, you can make this section as the safest section by increasing the thickness of the web. So therefore, let us revise thickness of the web, that is TW, from 12 mm to 16 mm. You can also take 14 mm, but why to worry? Again, if it comes the VCR less than V, again you have to resolve by taking 16. So instead of that, you just skip one value and then go to the next possible value. So that's the reason why I'm going to 16 mm. Okay, you can also check for 14 mm, and if you find VCR is less than V, again you have to resolve. So instead of avoiding that too many times of repetitions, I'm directly taking from 12 to 16 mm. Now again you have to calculate the values of tau CRE, which is the elastic critical shear stress, and again you have to find out the value of lambda W, then you have to find out the value of tau B, and then you have to find out the value of VCR. Okay, remember, so by using the revised thickness of the web, that is 16 mm, you have to find out all these values. I'll directly write the values here, that is kV pi square E divided by 12 into 1 minus nu square. You have that formula, right? So I'm directly solving the values. kV is 5.35 into pi square into 2 into 10 power 5, which is the Young's modulus of steel, that is 12 into 1 minus nu square, which is 0.3 square. Okay, and then you have d by tw value. So the value of d is fixed, we are not changing that, and thickness of the web has changed to 16 here. Okay, in the last case it was thickness of the web is 12. Here you can see thickness of web is 12, but here it is 16 mm. So the value of tau CRE is obtained as 76.41 newtons per mm square. And then you have to find out the lambda W value by using same formula. Fi upon Fi is 250 upon root 3 into tau CRE, that is 76.41. So if you solve for this one, you will be getting the lambda W value as 1.374, which is again greater than 1.2. So there is no confusion here. So then you need to find out the value of tau B, okay, which you can find out by Fi by root 3 into lambda W square. Fi is 250 root 3 into lambda W square. What is lambda W value? It is 1.374. Okay, so it will be 76.9 newtons per mm square. So now you need to find out the VCR, that is depth of the web into thickness of the web. What is the thickness of the web? It must be 16 mm, not 12 mm. You have to take the revised thickness into tau B, that is 76.9. If you solve for this one, you will be getting as 2214.7 kilometers. And here this value is greater than V. So what is the value of V? It is 1908 kilonewtons. 1908 kilonewtons. This is the value of maximum shear force. So here the VCR is greater than V. So therefore you can consider this as the safe section. So that's how you are going to revise the sections if you're getting unsafe section. Okay, so you must satisfy the value of VCR must be greater than V when you are not providing the intermediate transverse stiffness. Suppose in this case itself, suppose in the first case itself, if you got VCR value, say for example, as 2000 kilonewton, then you don't need to revise the section. Since you have got the VCR as less than V, you're going to revise the section by considering the thickness of the web to get increased, and then you're going to resolve the same steps which are there in the shear capacity of the web. Okay, so in the next class we'll be talking about we'll be continuing this problem. We have still 7 to 8 different steps are available, so we'll continue this particular problem in the next class also. Okay.